Hello, how are you today? It's great to have you here. And if this is your first time around, my name is Damaris, and I'm in this channel because I would really love for you to have lots of useful information and food for thought that you can go to when you are going through those times in life when things are hard, when you don't know what to do with yourself, when things don't make sense. For example, if you're going through an identity crisis, if you're going through an existential crisis, if you're going through a midlife crisis. If that's you, then welcome, and let's get started today with 5 powerful questions that you can ask yourself if you're going through this type of process of crisis or of transformation. The idea for this video came from a conference I went to last weekend. And although it was a business conference, but at the end of the day, businesses are created by humans, they are led by humans, they're driven by humans. So a lot of what was said there was relevant to other situations in life, like the ones that we talk about in this channel. So even though the main topic of the conference was how do we get better results in business or different results in business, this is also applicable to personal situations. So how do we get different results in life, which is one of the most important questions that we ask ourselves as we go through difficult processes like personal crisis. Yes. So what I'm going to be sharing today are 5 highlights or 5 of the things that got my attention because they were very relevant to the type of things that we discuss in this channel. And also, as I share these 5 points or highlights, I will also share 5 questions that I came up with and that they are related to each of the points that I'm going to be mentioning. Okay, so let's get started. The first point was a warning about the way we use logic. And here the idea was that sometimes we act emotionally, we decide emotionally, and we justify it with logic. So there are situations, for example, if you're going through a period of personal crisis where you know that there is something that you should be doing, you know there is something that you should be changing, and you decide that you're not going to do that, you're not going to change it, you're not going to do it, or you say to yourself, not just yet. This decision is made emotionally, the decision to not do things, the decision to resist change. This is an emotional decision. But what we normally do is that we use logic to create justifications or excuses for why we have decided this emotionally. And what happens is that because for the majority of people, logic has a heavier weight, or logic has a stronger value than emotions, then this makes us somehow feel calm. Whenever we justify our decisions with logic, even though the decision is not logical, then it makes us feel some sort of temporary relief. And because logic in our heads has a stronger value than emotions, this is what sticks in the brain, that this thing that I'm choosing is logical. And here the thing to remember is that logic isn't always reliable, because logic is a tool that we have available to us, but like any other tools, it will depend whether it's useful or not, whether it's helpful or not. That's going to depend in how we use it and what do we use it for. Luckily, our logical brain is very sophisticated, and so some of these justifications that we create through logical make a lot of sense to us, but it doesn't mean that they're reliable. This sophistication of the logical brain sometimes can fool ourselves. And the question that I came up with around this topic is, am I using logic to stay comfortable? Point number 2 is the order matters. And here the speaker gave an image which was a glass. So imagine we have to fill a glass with two types of things, of elements. Ones that are heavier and others that are lighter. Okay, so in this situation, of course, the order matters, because imagine that you have a glass and you put the heavier, the solid elements first, and then you put the lighter elements later, then this is what you're going to get. However, if you put the lighter elements first and the solid elements later, or the heavier elements later, then this is what you're going to get. Yes? And the thing here is that the glass is going to be full no matter what. Yes? But the result will be slightly different, because in the second situation where we've changed the order, then it's a bit of a messy situation. Yes? This applies to those situations where we are struggling within ourselves, and we are also struggling with the situation around us, and yet we still choose to attend to others first, yet we still choose to take care of other people's needs first. And why? Because we tend to think, well, this is my responsibility. We maybe think of ourselves as being the heavyweight in this situation. We may think of ourselves as being the ones who are holding the fort. So we are the heavy, the solid elements in the situation. And yet, what we choose to do is pour the lighter elements first in the glass and jump in last. So here again, what you need to remember is that you may fill the glass no matter what, yes, at least for a while, when you choose to change the order and to put yourself last. However, bear in mind that the results are not going to be as expected. You may find yourself, and you will find yourself, in messy situations just because the natural order is not respected. We put the important things, we put the heavier things, we put the solid things first. And in any situation that involves your well-being, the solid thing, the important thing is you, okay? So remember, the order matters. And the question that I came up with about this topic is, where am I creating a burden by putting myself last? Point number 3 is accept the process to find your power. And this came from, it was my favorite speech in the whole conference, so I might spend a little more time here. And when I say accept the process, I'm not talking about the process of going through a crisis, but the process that got us to the crisis, the process that got us to where we are. So what the speaker said, and I agree 100%, is that whatever we have today, whatever we are today, is the result of a two-way process where we have been influencing different aspects of ourselves, and therefore influencing different aspects of our environment, of our reality. So in this two-way process, we have our subconscious programming, which influences our emotions, which influences our ideas, and our emotions and our ideas influence our actions, influence our habits, influence our decisions. So it's like a scaffold of influence that goes from the subconscious to what's very visible out there in the world. In a period of crisis, this is very relevant, because if we don't accept that, whether it's through action or through inaction, if we don't accept that we've used this influencing process to get us to where we are today, then that means that our intervention point is going to be outside. Intervention point meaning this place where we can start changing things. So if the intervention point is outside, then, well, outside is kind of a very big space. It's big and scary because there are lots of things in the outside that are not within our control. So that's going to make us feel very powerless to place the intervention point outside. However, if I accept that this influencing process is in me, then this means that I am the intervention point, because I can intervene in my subconscious programming. I can do that. I can intervene in my emotions, in my ideas, my behavior. I can intervene on that. My habits, I can intervene on that. And so as we intervene, as we create different intervention points in all these levels, then we are building up towards a different result. And this is why accepting the process of internal influence is so important to find your power. Because by accepting that the process is in you and that the intervention point is always going to be you in the first place, you are recognizing your ability to influence results and your ability to influence outcomes and your ability to influence your life. And at the end of the day, this is what we call power. By no longer placing the intervention point outside, by placing it inside. And the question that I came up with about this topic is, what is the hardest thing to accept about the role I played in my current situation? Point number 4 is about the risk of doing nothing. And this was discussed in the context of investing. It was said that usually we tend to think that the biggest risk is making a mistake, and we're very reluctant to this, when in fact the biggest risk is doing nothing. And in financial terms, it was said that especially right now, doing nothing is much of a bigger risk than taking a risk, because of the issue with inflation, right? That it makes, if you do nothing with your money, it will lose value. It's already losing value. It has been losing value for a while. And of course, investing doesn't only apply to whatever we do financially. There is also investing at personal level. We invest in our growth, we invest in our development by taking different actions, by making different decisions, yes. So it's also applicable to this, because there is such a thing, at least this is what I really strongly believe, there is such a thing as psychological inflation, where if you know that you should be doing something because times are hard, if you know that you should be taking some action, if you know that you should be making certain choices at personal level because the situation is complicated, and you do nothing about it because you're afraid of making a mistake, please know and keep this in mind, that psychological inflation will eat away, will erode your value and your self-worth progressively if you stay into this place of doing nothing. It was also said that there is one thing that stagnation and inaction have in common, and that is that they come out of fear. That this fear is trying to protect a sense of safety that we really want to hold on to at all costs. And this is why we sometimes prefer to stay where we are, doing nothing, stagnated, inactive, than actually making, even if it's a small move. And the thing with fear, 3 types of fears that are very common in this situation, where we know that we should be doing something and we choose not to do it, is because, for example, we may fear failing, or that the outcome is not exactly what we hoped for, what we expected. Another common fear is that fear of what's out there meaning outside of our comfort zone. And also another common fear is the fear of that there are too many variables once we start taking action. And the thing with these variables is that we can control most of them. And while these fears, and I know this personally, they can have a very strong hold on us, I can also tell you something else, which is that if you make a decision, if you make a choice out of fear, this is incredibly risky. You know why? Because then you're no longer in control of your life. You're no longer the owner of your life. Fear is in control. Fear is the owner, because you're giving your fears the power to drive your decisions and the power to drive your choices. And at the end of the day, who makes the decisions and who makes the choices is the one who's in control, right? Coming to a point where your life is not in your hands anymore. And what could be a bigger risk than that? The question that I came up with about this topic is, which of your recent choices have I made out of fear? You can make it about your choices in general, okay? Which of my choices so far have I made out of fear? Number 5 is about confidence. And this was said it wasn't a speech, it was an interview. And the person being interviewed said that you can't have confidence if you're not on your path. In a process of personal crisis, this is something that we feel very strongly, yes? The lack of confidence, we don't feel capable. And we tend to think that because we lack confidence, then, well, maybe this is a sign that I should stay where I am, that I should not make any move, that I should just wait because we lack confidence. When in fact, the lack of confidence is not a sign that you should stay where you are. The lack of confidence is a sign that where you are is not the right path for you right now. And this is why you don't have confidence. So the takeaway here is, don't wait until you have confidence to take action, to make a move, if you know what that move should be right now. Don't postpone until you feel confident, because as long as you stay in this path that's not right for you, you will not feel confident. You will feel confident, however, when you switch, when you take this other path that you can own, that you can feel as yours. And there your confidence, you will not need to look for it. It will just emerge naturally. So don't wait, don't postpone, don't condition action to feeling confident, because the confidence comes later. And the question that I came up with about this topic is, what step would the fully confident version of me take right now? So those are the 5 points that I wanted to share. Those are the 5 questions. And to end this video, I want to leave you with a quote also from the last speech, the closing speech, and it was given by the organizer. And it says, "Not all difficulties are punishments. Not all difficulties are signs that we should stop. Sometimes difficulties can be a preparation to the next level, so that we learn how to give up our blockages." So I'm going to leave you with this. I'm going to leave you with those 5 questions. Please make some time to answer the question. Don't just say, yes, very interesting, I'll think about it. Make time to answer the questions. I'm making time to answer those questions also on Sunday morning. So I would be very interested to find out what comes up in the answers. Any questions, anything that you'd like to share, you can leave it in the comments. You can send me a message on Instagram. I will put the handle here. And this is what I'm leaving you with for the day. Until next time we see each other, take care. Bye-bye.